This tutorial will take you through the admin tab within Invitbox. The admin tab can be accessed from within the app at any stage from the top right in the admin. Once you register as a user and then subsequently register your Invitbox company within Invitbox, the first screen you will come to is this admin screen. You can see here I'm registered, my company is invitbox.demo@invitbox.com, and I'm logged in as the user Chris Gregg. Okay, so just to explain the layout of the screen, this top section, my profile, is in relation to the logged in user, so that is my personal settings as Chris Gregg, and then the rest of the information from my account downwards, my company information, the accountancy software settings and the inventory pause are all in relation to the actual Invitbox account rather than the user. So I'm just going to take some time to go through each of these stages one by one and talk you through how to set these up and how you may want to make changes to each one. So the first section, my profile, very simply is where you would change any details. So these are the details you would have given when you registered. If you want to change any personal details, do that here. Importantly, you'll notice notifications. So as a user, if you do wish to receive an email notifications, you can select that here by clicking the tick box. You can then select to receive these daily, weekly or monthly, and you can select an actual day of the week. So ordinarily you would request to receive notifications maybe a day or two prior to when you usually would do the actual accounts payable processing. Just to note, if you are registered to multiple companies, the email notification notifies you of exactly what is outstanding, what task requests are outstanding across all of your companies. The last option there in this screen is preferences. That's very simply where you select how many invoices you would like to see on screen from within the in tray, so 10, 25 or 50. Okay. Next we have email address and you have password. This is where you would just change those details if you wish, and also contacts where you would add your internal contacts that you may need to have in your address book to send any requests, which will be detailed in later tutorials. The next section is my account. So account summary, this is where when you're ready you would purchase a plan. So current plan, you would choose a plan. There's more information on these various tiers on a separate tutorial and also on our help desk. But this is where you go to actually select a plan once ready. You can also, from account summary, view your transaction history, and then you can see over a current month, previous month. You can select even a specific date range, and you can view if you had any history. You can view any exports, any credits that have been deducted, any debits, things like that for a particular range. To note here as well, if you do have multiple companies registered, you will be able to view multiple companies, and you will also have a separate option to drill into specific companies and see a specific company's usage over a particular time period. Okay, so the next options then we have is my company information. Company details, this is where you can change any of the information you registered again on setup. Shouldn't really ordinarily need to do that. And then this next tab is quite an important one, company settings. And if I go into setup, you'll notice the first option is a redirect email. Okay, this is the email that Invitbox will use for this account should we receive any documents or any emails that we cannot pull out any information. So anything received that contains documents other than invoices and statements, this is the email address that we will auto forward that onto. So we do recommend you put an email address in here of someone or person that will be accessing their email on a regular basis and can then distribute those emails to the relevant persons within the organization. It's important to note here, please do not put the redirect email in that would be the same as the email address that's sending into Invitbox. Otherwise you'll create a loop, so emails will bounce back and forward. The redirect will send back to the original email, and if you have got an auto forward on that email, it can then just bounce back and forth continuously and cause some problems. Sign-off type, this will become more relevant later on when we're going through the in-tray approved and signed off in subsequent tutorials. But this is basically where you set the account as user-only, secondary or executive. User-only just means there's one approval, secondary means there's a dual approval, and executive means there's then further approvals added into the process, so you can have up to 3 further executive approvals required on top of the initial in-tray approval and the AP approval. These executive approvals would then be required before Invitbox will allow any information to be transitioned through to the accountancy software system. Lastly, you've got Allow Invitbox Support. This is an option. If you select it, very simply our staff can access your account if you need to ring us for help. If you haven't got that selected, Invitbox cannot access your financial information. We are a blind service for security reasons. And these last extra services will be detailed again in a later tutorial, but this is where you would turn on manual entry, price checker, or let's get going. Okay, the next options here under company information, you have a partner dashboard. This is relevant for companies with multiple entities registered. You can add users across multiple entities in one fell swoop. Okay, next we have users, groups, suppliers and product lists. These are detailed again in separate tutorials, as it is quite extensive detail to be set up within those. Your accountancy software settings. When you register, you need to select which accountancy software you're using. So if you do select Xero, or SASU, QuickBooks Online, MYOB, AccountsRite Live, any of those systems which are API, which we have an API set up, so cloud-based systems, you simply select it, you click a button, you get redirected through to that appropriate website where you verify the link, and then all of the GL codes, supplier cards, if you're using categories, your tax rates, they all just appear immediately, and that's setup complete. Quite simple. If you do need, if you use desktop options, if you go to our support page, it details all of the setup options for all of the desktop softwares. They are also very straightforward and very quick to set up. One thing that's very important to note is the tax rates. So once you bring your tax rates in, you do need to set your default taxed and default tax-free rates. So basically, in most scenarios, your default tax rate is going to be your, for example in Australia, your GST on expenses, or it might be your VAT. It's just your standard, what's your standard rate within your state, for example in the United States of America, and then also what's your defaulted tax-free. So if there's no tax on any items, what is the defaulted tax-free amount? In this example, default tax-free is GST-free expenses, and default taxed is GST on expenses. Again, if you do need any further help, there's more detail in our support section. Lastly, there we've got inventory point of sale settings. If you do run an external inventory system, Invitbox can send all of those line by line information, quantities, unit pricing, all that information that's stripped out, we can send that to external systems free of charge as well. Again, for more information, please refer to separate tutorials, but this is where you do turn that on and select your accountancy, your inventory system. The last thing in the admin tab here, you'll see my other companies. Very simply, this is where you jump between other companies that you have registered. So that's the admin tab in 10 minutes. If you do need more information, as I say, go to the support tab from our homepage, and there's detailed step-by-step instructions to talk you through each of these setup steps in more detail. Thank you.